The sky above the alien capital burned like liquid silver when Elias Trent, a human engineer from Earth, entered the great palace of Queen Yalara. He was not a warrior, not a hero, just a man who fixed damaged power systems for the new peace treaty between humans and the alien race called the Jareen. The palace guards stared at him with cold, glowing eyes as he walked through endless corridors of crystal and light. He had been called urgently, and no one told him why. When the great doors of the royal hall opened, Elias felt the floor shake beneath his boots. The sound that came from within was not thunder, not war, it was the cry of a baby, a sound so powerful that it made the walls tremble and the lamps flicker. The air itself seemed to shiver. Even the soldiers, tall and armored, pressed their claws against their ears in pain. And there she stood, the queen herself. Yalara, ruler of 1,000 worlds, covered in silver scales that shimmered like moonlight. Her eyes were beautiful and terrifying, glowing like liquid fire. But tonight she did not look like a queen. She looked like a desperate mother. Her long tail lashed against the floor as she turned toward Elias. "Human," her voice echoed, deep and full of sorrow. "You work with energy, yes? You understand the balance of light and vibration?" Elias nodded slowly, confused and scared. "Yes, Your Majesty." "But what is happening here?" The queen's lips trembled. "My daughter, the first royal heir in 500 cycles." Her cries break the very air around her. Her power is wild. No healer, no scientist, no warrior can come close. The energy she releases harms all of my kind. She paused, her voice softening. "But your aura, human. Your kind is not like ours. You are stable. You do not react to her energy. You might reach her." Elias's mouth went dry. "You want me to calm her?" The queen's glowing eyes met his. "If you can calm her, if you can quiet her heart, I will grant you anything, even my hand in marriage." For a long moment, Elias could not speak. His mind went blank. Marriage to an alien queen? It sounded impossible, absurd even. But when he looked into her trembling eyes, he saw no pride, only fear for her child. "I'm not a healer," Elias said quietly. "I fix machines, not babies." The queen took a step closer. The air around her shimmered with power. "Please," she whispered. "Machines or hearts, it doesn't matter. My child is suffering. My people are suffering. Help her, and I will owe you a life debt." Elias stared at her, at the cracked glass walls, at the trembling light filling the room. Every cry of that unseen baby felt like lightning striking his chest. He could see the agony on every alien face around him. Warriors, servants, guards, all helpless before a child. He took a deep breath. "All right," he said at last. "I'll try." The queen closed her eyes, relief washing over her. "Follow me, human. But be warned, the energy will test your mind." She led him through a golden corridor that hummed with strange power. The deeper they went, the louder the cries became. It wasn't just sound anymore, it was feeling. Each sob from the baby carried pain, confusion, fear. Elias felt it in his bones like something reaching inside his heart. Finally, the queen stopped before a massive door of living crystal. The walls pulsed like they were breathing. "She is inside," Yalara whispered. "No one has entered and returned unharmed." Elias looked at the door. His hands were trembling, his heart racing. "What's her name?" he asked softly. The queen's voice broke. "Zera, it means the storm of my soul." The name echoed in his mind like a whisper. He stepped toward the door, his throat tight. "Then let's calm your storm, Your Majesty." The door opened with a deep, echoing sigh. A blinding light filled the corridor, and the sound of the child's cry grew louder than thunder. Elias flinched, but he didn't step back. He walked forward into the storm, his shadow swallowed by silver light. Behind him, the queen whispered, her voice full of hope and fear. "May the stars protect you, human." And the doors closed, leaving Elias alone with the crying child of the universe. Elias stepped into the chamber and froze. The room was alive, as if the walls themselves breathed. Crystal pillars stretched from floor to ceiling, bending the light into colors he couldn't name. But all beauty was lost beneath the sound, the cries of the infant princess Zera. The noise was unbearable, a high-pitched wail that seemed to pierce every nerve in his body. The air itself vibrated, warping around the baby like a storm. Zera floated above her crystalline cradle, surrounded by a swirling halo of violet energy. Every sob made sparks of power ripple through the room, melting small sections of the floor where she passed. Guards knelt at the edges of the chamber, shielding their ears and praying that the walls would hold. Even Elias's heart pounded violently against his chest. The Queen's voice echoed softly behind him. Do not let fear control you. Approach her with patience, not strength. Elias swallowed hard, stepping closer. He could feel the hum of her energy against his body, a strange vibration that made his bones tingle. If I get this wrong, I could die, he thought, or worse. I could hurt her. He raised his hands slowly, palms open. Hey there, little one, he whispered, his voice trembling. It's okay. I won't hurt you. I'm just here to help. The baby's eyes, large and glowing like molten silver, turned toward him. She flailed, sending a wave of energy that made the crystal floor shiver. Elias stumbled back, gripping a pillar for support. Every instinct screamed at him to retreat. But something inside him, the same instinct that had guided him through countless emergencies on Earth, urged him forward. He remembered his sister's child back home, who would scream endlessly at night until he sang to her. He didn't know if it would work here, but he had to try something. Closing his eyes, Elias began to hum softly, then added words. A lullaby from Earth, simple and warm. Hush now, little one. The stars are near. At first nothing happened. Jera screamed louder, the storm around her intensifying. Crystal pillars shook. The air vibrated violently against Elias's ears, but he kept singing, voice quivering, sweat running down his forehead. Then something changed. The baby's furious movement slowed. Her tiny hands, tipped with silvery claws, no longer struck the air wildly. Her eyes blinked once, twice, and her wail became a quiver. The violet energy around her flickered uncertainly, shrinking in size. Elias opened his eyes and saw Jera floating closer to him, curiosity replacing panic in her gaze. He lowered his hands and whispered again, softer this time. It's all right, little storm. You're safe. The Queen appeared at the threshold, her silver scales shimmering. Her eyes were wide with awe. Human. I cannot believe this, she breathed. No one has ever calmed her. Elias focused entirely on the child. Slowly, cautiously, he reached out. Jera's tiny hand touched his arm, cold but delicate. The violet storm around her trembled one last time, then faded into a soft glow. She cooed, a small, fragile sound that seemed almost impossible after the hurricane of cries. Elias's knees bent and he sank to the floor, holding her gently in his arms. Her little body was warm, surprisingly heavy for her size, and her breathing gradually slowed. He could feel her tiny heartbeat against his chest, rapid but steady. The Queen stepped closer, tears glistening in her glowing eyes. You did it, she whispered. I promised you anything if you could calm her, and you succeeded. Elias looked down at the child, feeling a strange surge of emotions he didn't fully understand. Relief, awe, and something unfamiliar, tender, and protective. She's just a child, he murmured. She just needed someone to sing to her. The Queen nodded slowly, her voice trembling. Then consider the promise still true, human. My hand, my trust, it is yours if you wish it. Elias felt his heart pound. Marriage to a being of immense power and responsibility was beyond anything he could have imagined. But he did not feel pride. He only felt the weight of what he had done, how fragile, how precious life could be. Even in a world filled with stars and storms, and as Jera cooed softly in his arms, Elias realized that in the quiet after the storm, something powerful had changed, not just for the infant princess, but for the human who dared to reach out to a creature no one else could touch. He looked at the Queen, speechless, and she simply nodded, understanding more in his silence than words could express. The storm had ended, for now. The silence in the chamber was heavy, almost sacred. For the first time in hundreds of cycles, the royal hall had known peace. Not of battle, not of obedience, but of quiet wonder. Elias still knelt on the crystal floor, holding Jera in his arms. The infant's tiny fingers curled around his thumb, her glowing eyes fixed on him with trust that felt deeper than any human or alien could explain. The Queen approached slowly, her silver scales reflecting soft light, her tail trailing behind her like a shimmering ribbon. She stopped just a few steps away, her eyes glistening with tears. Elias could see the weight she carried. The burden of rulership, the fear for her child, and the relief that no one else could provide. She had watched countless advisors, soldiers, and healers fail before him, yet here he was, a human, a stranger. She's calm. Yalara whispered, her voice breaking. You have done what no one else could, human. Not our greatest warriors, not our oldest healers. No one. Elias shook his head, still uncertain. I didn't do it for praise. I remembered a lullaby. Something from Earth. His voice was quiet, almost a whisper, but there was honesty in it. She wasn't angry. She was scared. I just tried to help her feel safe. The queen knelt before him, lowering herself to the floor in a way that no human had ever seen a ruler behave. Her glowing hands hovered over the child, careful not to disturb the fragile peace Elias had created. You have more than strength, human. You have warmth. You carry a light that my people have forgotten. I have never seen such courage nor such gentleness. Elias felt heat rise to his face, embarrassment mixing with awe. I'm just a man from Earth, he said softly. I fix things, machines, that's all. Machines can be fixed, yes, Yalara replied, her voice trembling with emotion. But hearts are different. You have fixed more than a machine today. You have fixed hope. You have healed what centuries of power could not. Elias looked down at Jera. The baby's small chest rose and fell in a steady rhythm. Her glow had softened into a warm, comforting light. No longer a storm, but a gentle pulse that filled the room. He felt a lump in his throat as the queen's words sank in. I don't understand how a human can do this, Yalara admitted, her voice cracking. You're kind. Your people are fragile, temporary, small in the grand scheme of the stars, but you reach hearts where power fails. You calm storms that no one else can approach. Elias swallowed hard. I didn't do it to impress you, he said, his voice shaky. I did it because she needed me, because she deserved someone to be gentle with her. That's all. The queen's eyes shone brighter, reflecting both relief and admiration. Your humility, it is as remarkable as your courage. My promise still stands, human. You have earned it. My hand, my loyalty, even my heart if you would have it. Elias froze. The words sounded like music, yet they felt impossible. Marriage to a queen of stars and planets whose name carried weight across galaxies. It was beyond comprehension. He felt fear, awe, and an unnameable emotion twisting together in his chest. But before he could answer, Jera let out a tiny, happy coo, reaching for his face. Her fingers brushed his cheek, and in that instant all his doubts faded. The baby had accepted him. The queen's child, the future of a mighty empire, trusted him, and in that trust Elias realized something profound. He didn't need to be a hero or a king. He only needed to be human, gentle, present, brave in a way that came not from weapons but from heart. The queen lowered herself closer, her tear-streaked face softening. I offered my hand in promise. But now seeing you with her, I cannot imagine a life without you. You are part of our future, Elias Trent. If you will accept it, you are welcome beside me in peace and duty and, perhaps, in something more. Elias looked at her, at the tiny child resting in his arms, and felt the weight of the moment settle around him. A lifetime of fear and hesitation, of wondering if he was enough, vanished. He had faced a storm that no machine or weapon could tame, and he had survived with nothing but courage and care. Finally, he whispered, barely audible, I will stay. I will try. For her, for you, for all of you. The queen's eyes softened. A gentle, radiant smile broke across her face for the first time in cycles. Then perhaps, humanity is not as weak as the stars claim. And for the first time in the palace's long history, a human and an alien queen shared a quiet, unspoken bond, one forged not in power, nor in conquest, but in compassion, trust, and the fragile, miraculous strength of a human heart. The days after that night were unlike anything Elias had imagined. The palace, once a place of distant grandeur, now felt alive in ways he could barely describe. Wherever he walked, servants and soldiers watched him with curiosity, awe, or quiet disbelief. Whispers floated through the crystal halls. The human who calmed the storm child, they said. The queen's chosen. Elias tried to ignore them, but every time he passed, he felt the weight of their stares. He had saved Jera, yes, but now he carried responsibility far heavier than any engine he had repaired on Earth. The baby's trust was one thing, winning the queen's heart. Another entirely. Queen Yalara began seeking his company more often. She asked questions not about machines or energy cores, but about Earth, its oceans, its forests, its people. She watched him with curiosity, her glowing eyes softening when he laughed, sharpening when he frowned. Something unspoken grew between them, fragile and powerful, like a song only they could hear. Elias, meanwhile, felt a strange, unfamiliar warmth whenever he saw her. He knew she was a queen, a being of immense power, and yet she seemed human in her care, in her gentle concern for Zara. He wondered quietly if love could really cross the gulf between their worlds. But not all eyes were friendly. The Queen's Council began to murmur, their voices low but sharp. She promised the human? One elder hissed. This is madness. He is flesh. He is temporary. He cannot hold the weight of our empire. He shames the throne. Another added, no alien before has ever married a human. It will weaken the line. It will destroy her rule. Elias overheard the whispers in the corridors and felt a cold pit open in his stomach. He didn't want to divide the queen from her people, didn't want to bring conflict where there had been peace. He began to wonder if perhaps he had overstepped, if he had no right to accept the promise she had made. Yet when he saw Yalara singing softly to Zara, a gentle hum that mirrored the lullaby he had used to calm her, all doubt faded. Her powerful, melodic voice vibrated with tenderness, carrying warmth that he realized had been missing from the Jareen for generations. The sight struck him deeply. She was strong, radiant, and yet vulnerable. She trusted him. That evening, he stood at the palace balcony looking out at the glittering city beneath twin moons. The stars reflected in his eyes, and he thought of Earth's quiet nights, of singing to children who believed the world was safe if someone was there to hold them. That was all he had done here, and yet the consequences were unimaginable. The queen appeared beside him silently, her presence like silver light. She rested a hand on his shoulder, steadying him. They whisper against us, she said softly, her glowing eyes fixed on the horizon. They cannot see what you see. You have touched my daughter's heart, and in doing so, you have touched mine. Elias swallowed, words failing him. I don't know if I can belong here, he admitted. I am just a human. I've only ever known Earth, and now I'm part of something so big, so alien. Yalara smiled, a faint, warm curve of her lips. Belonging is not about where you come from, Elias. It is about what you give. You gave courage when all feared. You gave calm when all panicked. That is how you belong. Here with me, with Zara, with us. Her words wrapped around him like a protective cloak. For the first time, he realized that he didn't need to match her power or her brilliance. He only needed to be present, to care, to act from his heart. That was more than enough. The whispers of the council did not vanish, but Elias felt a quiet confidence rising inside him. The fear that had gnawed at his chest lessened, replaced by determination. He would not hide. He would not retreat. He had been given a chance to be part of something greater than himself, and he would not waste it. That night, under the glow of twin moons, he and the queen watched Zara sleep in her cradle, her tiny hands curling in peace. Elias felt the first stirring of a bond that would not break, a trust that crossed worlds and a love that began quietly. And in that quiet moment he understood, sometimes, the greatest courage is not in facing a storm outside, but in facing the hearts within. The day of judgment arrived with a sky of burning gold and silver, casting long shadows across the crystal city. Elias stood before the royal council, his heart pounding in a rhythm that matched the distant pulse of Jareen energy fields. Thousands had gathered, soldiers, advisors, and citizens, waiting to see if a human, fragile and mortal, could truly prove his worth to the queen. Queen Yalara stood beside him, her silver scales gleaming, holding Zara in her arms. The child's eyes glimmered faintly, curious and calm, as if she sensed the importance of the moment. The council elders moved forward, their ancient robes flowing like living shadows. Human Elias Trent, the eldest, began, his voice deep and resonant, carrying through the hall. You have calmed the storm, child, an achievement none before have managed. Yet marriage to our queen requires acceptance by the stars themselves, a trial older than her empire. Elias swallowed hard. Trial? He asked, though part of him already feared the answer. The elder raised a crystalline orb, swirling with raw, chaotic energy. It flickered violently, casting strange patterns across the walls. Step into the storm, the elder said. If the stars accept you, you will live. If not, you will cease to exist, the hall gasped. The energy in the orb pulsed like a heartbeat, hungry and alive. It was a storm of light and force, unpredictable and overwhelming. Elias glanced at the queen. Her eyes were wide, filled with worry, yet her trust was unshakable. "You don't have to do this," she whispered softly. "I will honor my word regardless." Elias shook his head. "I must. If this is the way to prove humanity, to prove that I belong here, then I will do it for you, for Zara, for your people." The Queen's hand brushed his cheek briefly, a silent blessing before he turned to face the swirling energy. Every instinct screamed at him to step back, to flee. Yet he walked forward. Step by step he entered the storm. The light engulfed him instantly, brilliant and blinding. Pain surged through his body as if the storm itself was tearing him apart. His bones shook, his vision flickered, and memories of Earth, his sister, his childhood, the lullaby he had sung flashed in his mind. He cried out but kept moving forward, guided by something deeper than fear: hope. Inside the storm, Elias felt himself shrinking, dissolving into particles of light, as though the universe was testing the core of his being. He could hear whispers, ancient voices, neither human nor alien, speaking of worth, courage, and the strength of hearts. The pain was unbearable, yet he refused to stop. And then suddenly it quieted. The storm seemed to pause, the chaotic energy folding gently around him. A voice echoed in every mind present, clear and deep. "The human carries the warmth of life. He is worthy." Elias collapsed to his knees, drenched in sweat and light, shaking from the intensity of what he had survived. Around him the hall erupted, not in violence but in awe and reverence. The elders bowed, the guards lowered their weapons, and the citizens whispered in amazement. The Queen rushed to his side, holding Jera carefully as she knelt beside him. Her glowing eyes reflected both pride and deep relief. You did it," she breathed. "You survived where even the strongest of my kind could not." Elias tried to speak, but his throat was dry, his voice trembling. I didn't know if I could. I thought maybe I wasn't enough." "You were more than enough," Yalara said, her hand brushing his. "Courage, compassion, humility. These are the qualities of a ruler, a protector, and a heart worthy of my trust. You have shown them all." He looked at Jera, her tiny fingers reaching for his face, and felt a rush of warmth unlike anything he had known. The infant's calmness, the Queen's trust, the awe of 1,000 witnesses, all of it pressed against his heart like a tidal wave. The storm had tested him, stripped him to nothing, and rebuilt him in its light. And when he rose, standing before the Queen and her people, he realized something profound. Being human was not a weakness. It was the greatest strength he could offer. The Queen smiled, radiant and unwavering. "The trial is complete. You are accepted not just by the stars but by my heart." Elias swallowed, the enormity of it all settling in. "Then I am here. For her, for you, for everything this life asks of me." And as the crystal halls echoed with whispers of admiration and awe, a human and an alien queen stood together, bound not by duty alone but by courage, love, and the quiet strength that only a human heart could hold. Elias sat on the polished crystal floor, still trembling from the trial, while the hall slowly returned to calm. The storm had vanished, leaving only a soft hum in the air, as if the building itself exhaled in relief. Jera, the infant princess, rested safely in the Queen's arms, her small hand reaching out to Elias with curiosity and trust. Her tiny glow pulsed gently, no longer wild or untamed, a symbol of peace restored. The Queen knelt beside him, her silver scales catching the soft light, making her look almost ethereal. Her eyes were filled with a mixture of awe, relief, and a strange softness that Elias had never seen before. For centuries she had been a ruler of worlds, commanding armies and bending energies, but here, in this quiet moment, she looked human, vulnerable, emotional, and sincere. "You risked everything," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You faced a trial older than my empire, stronger than my warriors, and survived. You are extraordinary." Elias shook his head, embarrassed, feeling the weight of his exhaustion and humility. I just did what I had to. I couldn't let her suffer. That's all. I never expected any of this." The Queen reached out, placing a warm hand on his shoulder. "It is never just action, human," she said softly. "It is the heart behind it that matters. You have courage, patience, and empathy, qualities my kind often forget. You have shown me what it means to care without power, to protect without fear." Elias looked into her glowing eyes, and for the first time he felt a strange, almost overwhelming bond forming, not just to her child but to the Queen herself. He realized that she trusted him completely, and in that trust he saw the possibility of something beyond duty, a connection that bridged worlds, species, and experience. "I don't know if I deserve any of your words," Elias said quietly. "I am just me." Yalara's lips curved into a gentle smile, and she shook her head. "No, human. You are more than you know. You are not just flesh or a stranger from another planet. You are the one who calmed my daughter, faced the stars themselves, and returned with your spirit intact. That makes you remarkable." Elias felt warmth rise to his cheeks, a combination of pride, disbelief, and something deeper, something almost like hope. He glanced at Jera, who cooed softly, her tiny fingers brushing his arm as if affirming the queen's words. The queen leaned closer, her voice barely above a whisper, trembling with emotion. "When I first promised my hand, I thought it a mere formality, a desperate offer to coax help from a human. But now, I see it differently. I see a soul brave enough to face my storm, gentle enough to soothe my child, and strong enough to stand beside me without fear." Elias's heart beat faster, uncertainty and emotion swirling together. You mean that?" "Truly? I do," Yalara said, her glowing eyes silver cheek. "Not because of the promise, not because of ceremony, but because of what you are. I have offered my hand before, but never has anyone earned my heart as you have. You, Elias Trent, have my trust, my respect, and my gratitude. If you wish it, you may also have my heart." Elias could barely speak, the weight of her confession pressing on him like gravity. He swallowed hard, his voice trembling. I don't know if I can accept. I mean, I never thought that someone like you could." The queen smiled, understanding without words. "It is not power that binds us, Elias. It is choice, courage, compassion. You have shown them all. And that is why you are here, not as a visitor, not as a stranger, but as someone who belongs with me. With us." He reached out slowly, touching her hand, feeling the warmth beneath the scales, and in that instant, all fear and doubt fell away. He realized that no trial, no counsel, no whisper of judgment mattered anymore. What mattered was trust, love, and the quiet miracle of connection between a human and a being from the stars. Elias looked down at Jera, then back at the queen and whispered, "If I can protect her, if I can stand by you, then yes, I will stay, with both of you." The queen's smile broadened, radiant and unguarded, as tears of relief and joy filled her eyes. "Then it is done," she said. "You are not just a hero to my child, Elias Trent. You are part of our family, and perhaps part of my heart." In that quiet, golden-lit chamber, amidst the calm after the storm, a human and an alien queen shared a bond forged not in power or ritual, but in trust, courage, and the simple, profound truth of love. The palace shone like a living star as the twin moons rose over the alien city. Word of Elias Trent's courage had spread quickly, and now the royal courtyard was filled with humans and Jareen alike, all eager to witness the moment that would unite worlds. Colorful lights shimmered across crystal towers, and the air hummed with anticipation. At the center, Queen Yalara held Jera close, her silver scales glowing softly in the moonlight. Elias stood beside them, still overwhelmed, still marveling that he, a simple man from Earth, had come so far. For the first time in centuries, music filled the halls of the Jareen. Not the mechanical, precise hum of technology, nor the ritualized chants of power, but real music, full of warmth, rhythm, and feeling. Elias took a deep breath and began the lullaby he had first sung to calm Jera, his voice carrying over the crowd. "Hush now, little one. The stars are near." The queen listened at first silently, her eyes fixed on Elias, and then slowly, almost shyly, she joined him, her voice low but melodic, weaving with his. The sound was strange yet beautiful, a human song mingled with alien resonance. Jera cooed, waving her tiny hands in delight, her glow pulsing in rhythm with their voices. The people watching gasped in amazement. Humans whispered to one another in awe, while Jareen elders blinked, unsure whether to be shocked or moved. The queen's advisors, once skeptical, were speechless, realizing that something unprecedented had taken place. A human had bridged the gap between their worlds with nothing but courage, kindness, and a simple song. As the lullaby continued, Elias felt a warmth spread through him, unlike anything he had known. The crowd faded from his mind. All that mattered was the queen, the child, and the harmony they had created. He glanced at Yalara, her silver hand brushing against his, and felt her trust and gratitude radiate like sunlight. He realized that love, quiet and steady, had bloomed between them, not forced by promise or ceremony, but earned through shared courage and care. The queen leaned close to Elias, whispering softly, "You've done more than calm my child. You've given my people hope and perhaps a glimpse of a future we never imagined." Elias smiled, feeling a lump in his throat. I just wanted her to feel safe. I never imagined it would mean so much." The lullaby ended, but the magic lingered. Jera's laughter rang out, pure and clear, and she reached for both of them, her tiny hands glowing softly. The crowd erupted in cheers, some clapping, others bowing, and all celebrating not a queen or a hero, but the bond that had formed, a bond that crossed stars, species, and hearts. In that moment, Elias realized something profound. The strength of humans was not in their technology, their weapons, or even their numbers. It was in their hearts, in the courage to care, to act, and to connect. And here, in the midst of an alien empire, that simple human courage had changed the course of history. Queen Yalara looked around at her people, then back at Elias, and smiled. "You have shown them all that being human is a strength, that love and kindness can build bridges no power can destroy." Elias took her hand gently, feeling the pulse of her life and her trust. "And you've shown me that even a queen can have a heart," he said softly, his voice full of awe and emotion. The child giggled again, reaching for both of them, and in that moment all fear, doubt, and prejudice melted away. Humans and Jareen stood together, united not by fear, not by orders, but by the simple, undeniable truth. Compassion, courage, and love could cross even the widest gulf between worlds. That night, under twin moons and sparkling stars, a human, a queen, and a child sang together, and the universe listened. It was a song of hope, of trust, and of the quiet, unstoppable power of the human heart. Elias Trent had calmed a storm, earned the queen's hand, and proved that sometimes being human was the greatest strength.